Welcome to episode 14 of Chats. Today we're talking about the last night's Oscars. I'm Corbin.
I'm Sarah.
And we are excited. So,
are we excited or are we tired?
I guess a little bit of both. I'm excited and tired. And I guess you're excited and tired.
Well, you stayed up later than I did.
Yes.
Which is why you're going to lead the conversation. Because I could not stay up until, what was it, 11:30?
It was 11:30, 11:40ish.
Oh, no.
It ran off.
That was not going to happen.
No. But thank you to everyone. I kept my word about staying up and updating the Oscar feed on our Facebook page. So thank you to those who stayed up with us.
Yeah.
It was quite some fun. We might have to make it a tradition or something.
There you go. There you go.
But yes, so the 92nd annual Oscars occurred last night. And before we get into the winners and how they compare to our predictions, we're going to talk about some highlights and lowlights of the evening. Because you saw the majority of it, I
did. I went to bed, it was before 11.
Yes.
But yeah, so I saw most of it.
And the one thing I wanted to say is I feel the Oscars have a huge pacing issue. Because around the time you went to bed, it's in the middle when it's all the technical kind of stuff. Not that it's not interesting, it's just, I don't know why.
It's a little drier.
It's dry and then I literally woke up like it was instantaneous. As soon as they did Best Actress, I believe they did first before Actor.
Yep.
And like the top three, which is Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Picture. And those three, as soon as it happened, I was perked up and I was ready to go. So I think there was a bit of a pacing issue, but I think that's just how it is all the time. Every year.
Yeah, they always do up front. They always do like the best supporting actor and actress near the front.
Yeah.
And then, then they throw in the musical stuff and the in memoriam and things like that. And then near the end, they kind of ramp it up again and make sure that you're sticking right through to the bitter end, right?
Yeah. So, starting off with the kind of cold open with Janelle Monáe. I
love Janelle Monáe.
Pardon?
I love Janelle Monáe.
Yeah, did you like the opening?
That wasn't my favorite performance.
Yeah.
I like everything about her. I love how she sounds. I love her style. I love the aesthetic and how she puts herself out there. I'm conflicted, and I know we talked a little bit about this with the Grammys too, about how we already know how bloated these shows are. Mm-hmm. And you're saying you're not going to go with a host. There was no host. Yeah. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead. But when you're going to sit there and have like a 5-minute opening musical act, and you're going to interact with the audience, you're going to get them singing with you, and you're going to shove a mic in Brad Pitt's face. To me, it's like, okay, I'd rather just let's have a quick, short, sharp opening and then start handing out the hardware. But that was just my opinion. I
agree. I think it went almost too over the top. Like it was trying to justify why it needed to be there, where, a bunch of dancers come out onto the aisle. Yeah. They start dancing. They're like, Janelle Monáe's on the floor, like screaming her lungs out. She's a great singer, great performer. But I agree with you. I don't think it was her best performance or the best performance.
And I could see if there were a lot of musicals.
Yeah.
If it was one of those years.
I don't think there was a single musical.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like if you have one of those years where it's like you've got Moulin Rouge or you've got Chicago or something like that, where it's been the big comeback of the musical, to do a big musical number like that looks like the opening of a musical, then I could see it. But it just felt like
a little lifeless.
Well, I was going to say just very bloated.
Yeah.
I just felt like, typical awards show, here we go. But anyway.
I think, not getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but there was a performer from Hamilton halfway through the show who came out kind of out of nowhere on the stage, and he rapped and incorporated in this very fast-paced rap all of the Best Picture nominees, and wove it into this really well done a cappella rap, and then it was nice, short, sweet, 2 minutes max, and then he said thank you and he left the stage.
But he also incorporated the winners for the first third of the show.
Yes, he did. Yes, that's
that's where I thought that's what you need. Yeah. That was interesting, and he's talented, and that they had to write that. They probably started writing it as soon as the show began. Yeah. And then updating it with each award that was relevant, but right up until the last commercial break before he came on, because he started the next segment.
Yeah.
That they were redoing that, and then of course they had Questlove.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, he was doing the beat. That is right. It wasn't a cappella. There was a beat behind it.
But to have that spontaneity and to be able to do it like in the moment. I agree.
Yes.
I thought that was a really good moment.
And the one thing,
More of that.
and
More of
the
that.
one thing I thought of, you were in bed, but at the end of the Oscars, I'm sitting there, my eyes are kind of glazed, but I can still make out what's happening. And, what's happening is
Laptop perched on his lap.
hunched over.
That's right. Hanging into a bag of popcorn.
But at the end, it's like a montage of stuff that we've already seen.
Throughout the episode, throughout the award show?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And the thing is, why don't they have at the end, like a rapper or a singer, kind of like what we saw in the middle, wrap up the entire show? Instead of because there's a bit before the credits even come on, where it's just it's all the famous people. It's like the end of SNL where everyone's hugging. It's like, that's great and all, but you could really have a great finale, because no one really thinks of, that was a great ending to the Oscars.
I think by the time we get to the end of the Oscars, we're just so freaking glad it's over.
That's fair enough.
And to recap, to me, if you've made it to the end of the Oscars, you don't need a recap. No. Unless you slept through stuff, in which case.
He pulled it off impressively.
It was good. So what's your next highlight?
Yes. Next up is Steve Martin and Chris Rock. They made jokes of the non-hosts. Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I kind of groaned when I saw them come out, because I thought, we're not doing hosts, and here we are with two guys who have been hosts, who are non-hosts, who are going to talk about, but their material was clever. It
was well done, and once again, I feel like that was a very well-timed thing, where it wasn't too long, wasn't short, it was a nice amount of time, and all the jokes, no filler. That was what I'm trying to say.
It was a great appetizer.
It was. Yeah. So they did a great job.
Good job.
And then the Idina Menzel performance for Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. Not a big Frozen 2 fan, but she's a great singer.
Oh, she can wail, that woman. She's amazing.
Yes. But the thing that I think added to it tremendously was, there's obviously multiple languages around the world that they have to dub voices over. So they not only had Idina Menzel there, but they had quite a plethora of other language speaking Elsas there.
Oh, in various languages.
Yes.
See, I stepped out of the room for that. I heard it, but I didn't see what was happening.
So how it worked was, the bulk of the song was Idina Menzel, and then each of the ladies from other countries sang a quick snippet of the song, and it went down the line.
Oh, that's cool.
And then at the end, there's a big choir moment while Idina Menzel's singing. But instead of just a random choir, it was all the other
vocal performers.
And it was fantastic.
Cool. I did, just as a side note, the whole Idina Menzel thing, one would think that it's a little past, but the fact that there were not one but two John Travolta references about how it's not hard to say Idina Menzel, that just doesn't get old.
No.
And if you don't know what it's referencing, just Google John Travolta awards and then Idina Menzel, or anything you can type in that phonetically will represent Idina, because it was he butchered her name.
If he just accidentally mispronounced her name, you know what? It happens to the best of us. But the way he acted afterwards, by kind of touching her face and being
everything
very
about
weird,
him is squeamy.
It was very weird. So it was well done comedy by Josh Gad and some other people.
Yeah.
The next thing that was kind of mixed for me, I still don't know how to feel about it, and I feel like this made the biggest news other than the awards themselves, was Eminem's surprise performance.
Yes.
Because the crowd, at first, they showed some of the people in the crowd looking very surprised, very confused, not quite grasping that Eminem's performing on stage. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Well, that's the thing, and a little history lesson for you.
Yes.
When 8 Mile was nominated, and that song was nominated, he didn't come to the Oscars.
No.
He never performed this show, or this song, at the Oscars. So here we are, and
because he thought that Chicago was gonna, he felt that Chicago was gonna win, and that he didn't really need to. That they wouldn't.
But in fairness to the audience, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So suddenly we've got this time warp happening, and especially someone like Eminem, who, even though he has recently dropped an album, the fact for most of the people in that room would be, most people can appreciate Eminem, but you don't expect him to see him pop up on an Oscar stage. Like, this is a Grammy move. That's what I'm trying to say. This is Grammy tactics. This isn't how Oscar rolls.
No.
So speaking of Idina Menzel, I feel so bad for her because they got her so tight in the shot when he launched into the song that the look on her face was like kind of confused, kind of. I mean, obviously, I'm going to suggest that probably Eminem's not on her Spotify.
No.
But even if that was the case, like, I think it was just so out of place and out of time. Like it just didn't make sense to have him there other than, guess who's got an album dropping?
Yeah.
Let's get him in there.
Yeah, and I thought maybe it's a 20-year anniversary, but no, 8 Mile came out 2003, so that'd be
No logical reason.
3 years from now. And the other thing I thought of was just that, like, why did they have... Because they did a video montage of famous movie songs before that, and I kind of groaned, and you were there. I'm like, why are they doing this? We don't forget the Rocky theme song. We know it still. Yeah. And then it was all because they had Eminem, and they started playing 8 Mile at the end. And then it phased into the live band, which sounded phenomenal.
It did.
It sounded very well done, but it's just like very awkward. Not awkward, but just very confusing.
Yeah.
But it's like a good confusing because it was a great performance and very enjoyable.
The only thing I gotta say, and I know this makes me sound like an old lady, and you know what I'm gonna say.
I already know. I knew you were gonna bring it up the whole time.
Well, I commented last night, which is like, I'm not going to start a conversation about whether or not guys wearing their jeans above or below the cheeks of their butt is a good thing.
Well, this is chats. We talk about anything and everything.
I don't want to go down that road. We got too much to cover.
That's a slippery slope, literally and physically.
Slippery. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Anyway, so for me, again, it kind of felt like a weird time warp because that look is not nearly as popular. You do see some guys still trying to pull it off, but for the most part, that's not the look that rappers are having anymore.
And not at the Oscars. That's what I was thinking.
It's an age thing. It's an Oscars thing. It's chronologically, again, like, what year are we in? Yeah. Again, I thought he did an amazing job. He still sounds good. Like, he sounds good. And I know there were comments about, Eminem, carrying a couple extra M&Ms, and it's like, I don't care how someone looks. If they're talented, if they are able to sustain their legacy, go for it, man. I'm glad he was there. I really am. Yeah. I just thought it was funny, the number of creative camera cuts,
angles.
And when I said it, you noticed it.
As soon as you said, I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm looking to see like his behind, because they never showed it except for at the start. As soon as like he popped out, it's almost like the camera people were not notified.
They were like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
it was like a total Elvis Presley moment where it's like we're not showing anything below the hips. It was all chest and higher. There were the only wide shots were like stage wide. Yeah. It wasn't like floor
and
to.
If he turned a certain way, like
they'd
angle,
switch angles
immediately. It was almost comical.
Oh, here we go. Oh, there he's got to get. Oh,
Jimmy, we need to change the angle. George, get that out of there.
That's right. He turned around. Yeah. Damn.
He's spinning. What do we do? So I think that was the most of the notable things, other than the awards that happened. Overall, nothing crazy happened. I was kind of hoping at the end.
Well,
I was hoping at the end that they might mess up an Oscar or two. They didn't do that.
You wanted a Warren Beatty moment?
I was so happy I was watching that Oscars live when they messed up that, because it was terrifying and I wasn't even there. It was.
You were sweating for Warren Beatty.
I genuinely thought he was like sick or having a stroke, heart attack. He froze. I was terrified. But what was
I did not realize this at the time, but of course they always have the in memoriam.
Yes.
So for actors that passed or people in the industry who passed within the year from the previous Oscar broadcast, they give them a little clip, something about their birth date, their name, the description of their career, that type of thing, their title. And again, not to beat up last week's episode, but Kobe Bryant was actually one of the first people recognized in the montage.
He won an Oscar.
Right.
Yeah.
Luke Perry Do you know who Luke Perry is?
Oh yes, I
90210.
and,
Bad Boy Dylan
and in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a small
was
role.
never, ever was not recognized in that.
I completely forgot about
And
him. And so did the Oscars.
And apparently, you and the Oscars are tone deaf. But yes, so apparently there's some issues online. People saying like, you know, again, there's mixed feelings because Kobe Bryant did not dedicate his whole life to the arts.
Yeah.
He wrote or was part of. I don't know the background on.
I think
movie.
they based the movie,
On
the short film, off his life,
his story,
his
yeah.
story coming up to the NBA.
So here we are. You know, the first image you see is Kobe Bryant
And they held
clutching
on it.
his Oscar, and yet you don't recognize someone who devoted his entire working career to film and television. It was just kind of one of those, you know, someone needed to hand that PowerPoint around and let other people have a look at it. But I mean, on the grand scheme of things, you know, there were no treacherous missteps or like you say, Warren Beatty
Trips on
freezing.
the stage.
Yeah. So okay, so you want to launch into the awards now?
Yes. So I went back to our episode 12 podcast where we did predictions and snubs, and I went through and
He's got his little notebook.
I got a little
out.
notebook. I cross-examined everything about.
Did you?
And we got quite a bit wrong.
We or you?
Who
won?
I think you did, but we'll go through it.
Okay.
So starting off with best cinematography, this one, you
Hang on, before we start, you didn't do every single category.
No.
We just the ones that we predicted are the ones
which
that you're
are the
okay.
main ones that most people want to
Okay,
know.
sorry to interrupt. Continue.
Best cinematography. I'm going from the ones that you're probably least interested in to most interested in.
Okay.
And best picture will be at the end.
Okay.
Best cinematography. I said it was going to be 1917, and you said Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Just because I'm biased.
And the Oscar was for 1917, so I got
Good
that
job.
one. Thank you.
There you go.
Best adapted screenplay. I said Jojo Rabbit. You said Jojo Rabbit. And Taika Waititi took it for Jojo Rabbit,
Yay!
which was, we were very happy to see that. We were happily surprised.
Yeah.
Next one was Best Original Screenplay. I said Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You said Rian Johnson for Knives Out. And it was Bong Joon-ho with Parasite. I think I butchered his name, but Parasite won that one.
And let's just take a moment for people who don't understand the difference. So best original screenplay means
It's a completely original script from the mind of the director.
it's never been a book or a previous
play.
media
Yes.
entity.
And then a best adapted screenplay is based off another form of media or literature.
So, for example, like Gone with the Wind started
Yes.
off as a book, and then it was translated into a screenplay for the film.
Well, and Jojo Rabbit was also a book
There you go.
before the film.
Classic.
So
Yep.
yes. So next up was Best Director. I had Sam Mendes / Quentin Tarantino, and you had Quentin Tarantino. Sadly, he did not get it
No.
for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It went to Bong Joon-ho with Parasite once again.
Who did an amazing speech. Like
He did-
he
he
actually
had-
speaks English. He did not
Yes.
speak English. He brought his interpreter up.
Yes.
And he's done that at each of the awards shows, which, I mean, some people are like, oh, you know, you're in the States, you know, speak English, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I think it plays well with the fact that he was doing I won't say that now. We'll do that one next. But the fact that he's speaking in a foreign language or his own language, and he wants to be comfortable. And you could tell at times he was emotional when he was up on
Yeah.
stage. So I don't blame him for wanting to have that little insurance policy of,
Yes.
I'm going to bring, you know, my colleague up and she can make sure that I'm communicating clearly. I'm sure they probably had a dialogue before the show to say, you know, in case I get choked up, you know, this is what I'm going to try and go with.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought, I think that it was very well done. And that movie is in subtitles. So it actually fits in nicely,
Well,
right?
that's what I was going to say. If you make a movie that is being acclaimed and awarded in subtitles in your own language, it seems very hypocritical for the people who are awarding you for that movie to say, speak English when you're here
I
for your
know,
awards.
I
So
It's not like you're faking it.
yeah, so I'm glad that they did that, because it'd be hard for them to do subtitles
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah. Well done.
well done indeed. Supporting actress, we both had Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit, and surprisingly, we both kind of gasped when this happened. Laura Dern took it for Marriage Story.
We need to watch Marriage Story,
I know.
apparently.
I listening back to the other podcast, there was a lot of times where he said, "We'll watch Marriage Story. We'll watch this movie. We'll get back to it before the Oscars. Watch this."
Actually,
and
full disclosure, I haven't been to the movies. I felt horrible because I was hoping to get in to see some more films before the Oscars. But anyway.
So yeah, and then lead actress, you got it right on the head. Renee Zellweger won, and I had Charlize Theron.
Who actually looked quite happy.
Yes.
For Renee Zellweger, which was lovely. I love seeing that. I mean, she is an amazing actress, Charlize. But the fact that in the moment she's able to be like, oh, yes, to celebrate someone else's success as opposed to look like sour grapes, I love that. And
I need to go back because during the episode 12, I said Renee Zellweger, like, the thing was
you want to apologize to Renee? Is that what
you're saying?
A little bit,
yes, because
Renee, if you're listening, Corbin has something he'd like to say to you.
I know Judy Garland. She did Judy Garland well, but I didn't realize I'm not a Renee Zellweger fan, so I never ever knew her and how she is and carries herself as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing the difference between, because I kind of saw her as Judy because that's the first thing I've seen her as.
Oh, really?
So,
have you never watched Bridget Jones' Diary?
No.
Oh, we need to have a whole conversation about Bridget Jones' Diary.
But we, seeing her carry herself, she did a very well done transformation into the character.
Yes.
And when I saw her speech and how she was very different from...
very soft-spoken, very mild.
Yes. I thought to myself, well
you
done.
Get it now.
Well done, yes. Yeah. So, next one was supporting actor. I had Tom Hanks / Brad Pitt. You had Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt got it.
Yes.
Rightfully so, I think. Tom Hanks, I saw that movie between podcasts. Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Won't You Be My Neighbor? About Mr. Rogers.
Once Upon a Time...
no.
Yeah...
I'll look it up for you. I'll get the actual name for it.
Yeah, because I don't think it's "Won't You Be My Neighbor." A Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood.
Oh, is that
a
what
beautiful
it is?
day in the neighborhood.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Oh, sorry everybody, we just went blank there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a documentary called "Won't You Be My Neighbor." That's what it was. But he did a really great job of being Mr. Rogers, and I just think that Brad Pitt, he had a little more flair to him.
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
For lead actor, I said Joaquin Phoenix, and I think you said Joaquin Phoenix. Like, you agreed with me?
Did you not mark it down?
For you didn't clearly say
now
anyone.
We're gonna argue.
You didn't.
I thought I said Leo.
No, you didn't clearly say anyone.
Okay.
I think you said something along the line of, because I said, I think Leo could win, but I definitely think Joaquin will. And he said, yeah, that's true. So I didn't get a clear name for you, but Joaquin Phoenix won, and he did a tremendous speech. He's used all of his platforms when he wins with tremendous speeches about kind of like bringing the egos of the room down, because last night that was one of the things saying he said everyone in this room thinks they're invincible, everyone thinks like they're the boss. He's like, you guys aren't anything, like you guys are on like down here in real life.
Wow. And
he talked about animal cruelty, he talked about just planetary problems, and in the past he's talked about racial problems.
He's very political in his speeches.
Yes. Equality for genders and all that. So fantastic speeches as usual by Joaquin Phoenix.
Hang on. I think I missed it when you mentioned, because you said about supporting actor.
Yes.
Okay, Brad Pitt deserves an award for how amazing his speeches are at award shows.
He did a great speech.
Like he leads off with, "They tell me I have 45 minutes, which is 45 minutes more."
45 seconds.
Or, sorry,
45 minutes. 45. That's a long speech.
Apologies, yes. No, I have 45 seconds. They tell me I have 45 seconds, which is 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton. And I'm not even going to get into what the reference of that is. If you haven't been following the impeachment saga in the U.S., then look it up. But the idea being that he knew that he wanted to make a political statement, did not go on and on about it, but was very succinct, and was just so well spoken as far as what it meant to him. And then did you get the little Easter eggs at the end that he said?
I don't remember the
he mentioned a shout out to Gina and Ridley for giving him his break.
Oh, well, you told me that, yes.
Well, I just want to know if you remember, if you were paying attention.
I was paying attention at the time.
So the reference is the fact that Gina Davis and Ridley Scott, Gina Davis was his co-star, and Ridley Scott was the director of Thelma and Louise, which is, I mean, he did a lot of TV work, but I guess that was his first foray into film. And he has a really great character, and where he's trying to kind of romance and kind of scam Gina Davis's character a little bit. If you get a chance to watch Thelma and Louise, without a doubt, one of the best movies, and timeless, like still stands up today as far as gender roles and things like that. But I thought that was a very neat. I'm so excited to see, because again, like we said about Renee Zellweger, we have a certain impression of what Brad Pitt's all about.
Yeah.
And to get him where he's not scripted, or he's not in an interview scenario, where he's just talking, and you could feel, like you and I both commented, like the emotion that he had. This means something to him.
Yeah.
And even though he'd already won an Oscar for a producer role with 12 Years a Slave,
yeah.
This meant the world to him.
Yeah, you could tell. I said that when he was live. I said, you can tell he's emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional. And I was surprised that it was his first acting.
Yeah.
I guess he does a lot of maybe like Ocean 11 type movies where it's not Oscar worthy stuff, but still, I think he was nominated for Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
But did not get it. So well done to him.
Yeah, so I know I kind of jumped you backwards there.
That's
if you
right.
want to catch back up.
No, we're here for Best Picture, the big one. I said 1917, and you kind of just said all of them, really. You said Ford versus Ferrari, or Jojo Rabbit, or maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And then and then at one point you said, maybe it's one of the other ones I haven't seen. Who knows? So you just kind of threw them all on the table.
Well, I picked my favorites. Those are the ones I was rooting for.
And Parasite was the big winner. And I put on the Facebook page last night, I said, if every movie lover right now who hasn't seen Parasite, that's at the top of their list right now.
Oh, no kidding.
So,
their box office is going to be amazing this weekend.
Yes. Well, I don't think it's in many theaters right now. I think it was.
But they'll probably bring it back now.
I don't know. It's
been known to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's the first ever non-English film.
Oh, it's the first Korean language. I'm
gonna search it up.
He's reaching for the phone, folks.
They said
he's calling me. I thought they said it was the first Korean, because there was one. Now I'm blanking.
It's the artist, I thought, but the artist had English in it. This is like the first no English. I'm pretty sure.
You look it up. But yeah, I thought it was. I was fine with going to bed when I did. I'm kind of past the point of, I have to be there in the moment to see it. And since I knew we had our handy dandy Corbin, ready to give us all the updates today. But when Corbin was updating with the various awards, I was trying to find any links to different sites, whether it was people or news outlets that were saying, hey, here's some more content, some more information. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was Natalie Portman, who had an amazing outfit. And we're going to talk about fashions in a minute, but just while Corbin's working on this, she made a point of making her own little political statement by wearing a cloak, a cape, that had the names of all the female directors who were not nominated, and she had them embroidered in gold on her black cape. And it was
subtle but well done.
Well done, and you could tell she drew attention to it, how she was standing, and I love that. I love that, making a statement without taking a 2x4. And I think, to go back to Joaquin Phoenix, some of the post ceremony feedback is that people were getting a little weary of being kind of lectured by him. They love the reference to his brother, River Phoenix, the fact that he always gives credit to his brother and holds him in high regard. But this ongoing kind of diatribe or rant that he seems to go on, and he's not the first one to do it. There's a lot of performers that get up there and say, whether it's musicians, actors, directors,
but I respect him more because he uses it for a reason. He's not talking about, I thank all these people, it was such a honor to be this character. No, he's using it for a platform, and I was fine, even though it was 11:30 at night. I was like, keep going with Joaquin Phoenix. And you could tell he doesn't like being in that position.
So if I'm gonna be forced into this role, I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. Fair enough. Okay, did you find out?
I found out.
Okay.
It is It is the first foreign language film to ever win Best Picture in 92 years of the Oscars history.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I thought there was one a couple of years ago. Because I'm thinking of, it was a Mexican director, but I'm wrong.
It's the 11th non-English language film nominated for the top prize.
Nominated, okay.
So,
Well, perhaps I'm getting it mixed up.
The other thing, the director/writer, they also won Best Foreign Film. Obviously, they won't have another film win.
But what do they call it now? It's not called Best
International.
Foreign Film.
Best.
And
international.
I like that.
Yes, they made a deal about that in his speech as well, which was very well done.
And I like the fact that they realized that it's a little culturally insensitive to make it sound like foreign. You know, yes, it's in the States, but to make it sound like foreign film, that's, it's off-putting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other big milestone that everyone is bringing up, which was crazy to hear, the writer, director, and kind of the producer as well, Bong Joon-ho, he won 4 awards, and that is tied with Walt Disney back in 1953, I believe. I have a screenshot.
No way, really?
It is tied for... Yes, the last person to win 4 Oscars in one night was Walt Disney in 1954.
That's awesome.
And there's the photo of them both.
Oh, you know what? We should see if we can post that on our Facebook page for people, because that's an amazing accomplishment.
Yes, and he seems like a great guy, and even for the Best Picture, the speeches afterwards, like of some of the cast or other producers, were saying how lovely he is. He's such a visionary. So, I'm excited to see the film first off, and then see what he does next with it. Right?
Yeah.
But and the other thing I want to say, speaking of speeches, was I'm glad they didn't cut anyone off.
Yes.
Even though it goes maybe too long, and Renee Zellweger's speech was kind of long and drawn on a bit, her talking about herself a lot. But I hate it when they cut it off. It's like, you guys have this award show and give them time to talk, yet you scale it down. But I feel more so for the people in the middle. Even though I kind of got bored, and I said that a couple minutes ago, and I was bored last night, I still give them props for having a speech and giving thanks and not being cut off, because it's disrespectful if Renee Zellweger or Joaquin Phoenix have say like a minute and a half long speech, and then the people who do costumes get cut off after 30 seconds.
And that's what was happening.
Yes, but
I'm glad it didn't happen.
Last night, I don't remember a single music cue to get off the stage.
That's
thankfully. Good. So that is the award side of things. Kind of right, kind of wrong. And before you get into fashion, I'm just for a little competitive, I'm gonna flip through and see who got the most. So I have 1, 2.
Oh, jeez.
3, 4. And Mom has 1, 2, 3. Got 3. So I won by 1. I won by 1.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I will take this imaginary
award,
ribbon of honor around my
Do you need to give a speech or anything? Or are you good?
I don't want the music, the cue music to start, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna say thank you.
You don't want anyone to play you out of the closet?
No.
Okay.
Play me out of the closet.
One of my favorite parts of the show are the fashions. Like throughout award season, I love whether it's the men's fashions, the women's fashions. I always find it a challenge when you look at the guys to see how many ways you can reinterpret the tux or a suit, or do something creative.
Or if they even go kind of left field with it, where they don't even do a tux or a suit. They kind of do something unique. So stuff like that I enjoy as well.
I have one of those on my list, and I'll start off. I thought Brad Pitt looked lovely in a velvet tuxedo jacket. Looked very stylish. Brad needs to lose the hair.
I think if it got any longer, yes. But
it's just that little bit too long. I mean, he's doing that. It's almost like he's still living the character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'd love to see
he is living on his own. He doesn't have Angelina Jolie on him all the time to cut his hair.
Well, anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
I thought the whole package, I mean, he's Brad Pitt. No one's going to kick him out of bed. It'll be fine. But the fact is that, it just looked a little greasy. The hair was a little greasy. So that was just my opinion on that. Other gentlemen, I loved Billy Porter.
Yes.
And this is controversial for some people.
Flamboyant.
Because, well, yes, but yet amazing.
Yes.
And even the difference, like he had one outfit, I believe, on the red carpet that was stunning. And then another outfit for when he was on stage,
Yes.
presenting and singing at one point with Janelle Monáe.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with Billy Porter, actor, performer, activist, very outspoken, and really came for people who weren't following his career, people started noticing because he started wearing dresses on the red carpet.
Yeah.
And people got
And he
all
makes them
twisted
look
out.
good.
Oh, God. Like, I'm going to find a picture and we'll post it on the Facebook
Yes.
page to show. But, I mean, I have a certain sense of style myself. And I literally looked at what he wore and thought, I would love to wear any of those outfits. Like, they all looked... You say flamboyant. Is it flamboyant because it's on a man? Perhaps. But
No,
I thought it
no.
was just outrageous
I didn't mean
and
it like
awesome. Like, no, but I'm just saying, like
I'm
did
saying
it feel...
flamboyant because of how, how unique it is. The colors, I think. Whenever I think of colors like that, like the gold one especially, that he wore during the performance, that's when I see that, I think, that's flamboyant. That is unique. That is...
See, when I think of flamboyant, I think of Elton John. And I think Elton John is like Billy Porter still is rooted in style and fashion, whereas Elton John went for just zany.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between zany and flamboyant. So I wouldn't go... I'd say Elton John, depends on the outfit, would be flamboyant. But I also think Billy Porter is also flamboyant.
Yeah.
So...
Anyway, I could see, like I say, what he wore. He usually does pants with like some kind of overskirt and then an amazing top that's either, like you say, the fabric is amazing, or the detail or the embroidery or some aspect of the top is stunning. And oft times he'll wear some kind of hat or topper, like something on his head. And again, people say, well, that's outside of my comfort zone. Well, that's fine. He rocks it. He looks outstanding.
Some of
every
the best
single time.
runway red carpet poses
Are Billy Porter.
Yes, hands
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, as far as other guys, there wasn't really, it seemed to be a sea of black tuxedos. So there really wasn't too much there to remark on, other than, like I say, Brad wearing velvet, which is always a nice change.
I have to say,
And Billy Porter.
I did like the young actor from Jojo Rabbit. His little mini suit that had
Kinda like
orange. It was an orange
lapels.
lapel on the
Yeah.
back. Yeah. So.
I'm sorry. Anything to do with Jojo Rabbit. We need to watch that again, I think.
Yeah, I think it actually has just come out on streaming? And digital.
Maybe we'll have to watch that just for the scene where the little guy at the end with the glasses says,
I need to hug my mummy. Need to cuddle with my mummy or something like
"Cuddle
that.
with my mummy.
Fantastic.
I don't want to do war anymore. I want to go home and cuddle with my mummy."
An Oscar-worthy line, and it won best screenplay. So Oscar-worthy.
And speaking of mummies,
Yes.
did you notice how many mummies were brought as dates?
Yes, I did.
Brad Pitt's mom sit in front row.
Yeah.
That'll be you and me someday.
I think Keanu Reeves brought his mother.
Keanu Reeves brought his mom.
Brought his mom.
Well, brought her. And actually, fun fact, Keanu Reeves, Joaquin Phoenix, Steve Martin, and Diane Lane were all in the same room last night.
Yeah.
And do you know why that's significant?
No, I think...
Because they were all in the movie Parenthood.
Oh, really?
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yes. So, actually, Keanu Reeves plays Joaquin Phoenix. Keanu Reeves plays the boyfriend of so his girlfriend is Joaquin Phenix's sister in the
okay.
So that was awkward to transition that, but I just thought that was interesting because that's a unique group of people that not always is Keanu Reeves at the Oscars or Steve Martin or certainly Joaquin Phoenix, and then to have them all there at the same, that was kind of like a fun fact. But anyway, so moving into ladies fashion, I didn't really get a lot of time just the way the day went. I wanted to watch more of the red carpet beforehand. I noticed there's a lot of white on the ladies, and as far as those who could carry it off, it's hard to wear white.
A lot of, like, white with silver, I found.
Yeah, very light and sparkly.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I liked actually was Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
I thought that was, like, I've got a picture here that I'm showing
put that
Corbin.
on Facebook, yeah.
Just a beautiful, like, form-fitting. She's got the one shoulder exposed with the one arm sleeveless, and then there's kind of like a angled neckline that goes up to her other shoulder, and then a full long sleeve. I can't really tell by this picture, I'm sure if oh yeah, I can. It's embroidered. It's beautiful. It's got a glitter to it. It's not stark white. It almost looks like a bit of an eggshell.
Yeah.
So because she's fair and, blue eyes, blonde hair, fair skin, that's a tough color to pull off, or shade to pull off. The other one that I thought was really remarkable was Gal Gadot,
Yes.
Wonder Woman. And I don't know why, because I'm not a huge lace fan.
No, and
But her dress was just, I think she's so tall and she
Yeah.
carries herself so well.
the confidence in it, yeah. And I feel like most of the time, like, if you saw something that was very lace and very, just how contrasting the top to the bottom was.
Yeah.
Usually that wouldn't work for me personally.
Yeah.
But she, as you said, she pulled it off. The way she carries herself and her figure complemented the dress perfectly.
It was well suited to her figure.
Yes.
Speaking of confidence and carrying off a dress, Kristen Wiig. And we never even really talked about Kristen
No.
Wiig and Maya Rudolph. But I was kind of hot and cold with that.
I feel like if it's been done before, it
does.
That's us acting,
Yeah.
But I did like her dress as well. It looked like lasagna a little bit on the
Yeah,
sides.
so you have to, okay, so
We'll post it on Facebook.
Kristen Wiig is wearing a bright red dress, like super, super bright red dress that is sleeveless. And you actually, were it not for a couple of illusion panels, you'd get quite a bit of side boob.
Yeah.
And I know you're cringing as I say side boob. But it was revealing down below, under her arm. And she wore long black gloves. But this dress, exactly what you said, like it kind of looked like two pieces of uncooked lasagna, right? Front and back. And then it kind of
Or burnt
tapered
lasagna, how it's red.
thoroughly drenched in tomato sauce. So it was very red and sleeveless, and it looked, I liked the color on her, and I thought everything else about her looked great, and I just thought this is one of those dresses like a Phyllis Diller situation, someone who's just looking for something that's completely outrageous, completely showstopper. If anybody can do it, Kristen Wiig could do it.
Carrying it,
And carrying it. So yeah. But anyway, we don't have to talk about that too much, because I thought that's another case of here's 5 minutes we're never going to get back.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's as always, there's some beautiful stuff. There's some horrific stuff as far as fashion. But when I saw Renee Zellweger, I thought, there's a dress. That's the same way I felt about the year that Julia Roberts won for leading actress, which as soon as you saw her in that dress, you thought, this is the dress that she's going to have a photo in, that she's going to look at for the rest of her life. It was just timeless.
Iconic.
Yeah, and even when you look back at it now, you go, of course, that's the dress she was wearing, right? Like it fits and it makes good sense. So, but yeah, so I thought that's pretty interesting. We'll have to see how well we do another year and see if we can get a little closer. We have to make sure we see more of the movies.
Yes.
That's a bit of a problem.
I think I did a good job for
You did.
movies, but overall, a successful Oscars, successful update, kind of like live stream-esque Facebook page on chats, and a successful post-show recap.
Oh, look at you.
Look at that. Wrapping up with a nice little bow.
So, let us know what you thought about the podcast. Well, tell us about the podcast.
Yes.
Let us know that. But we really want to know what you thought about the Oscar broadcast, and maybe if you were keeping track along with us, did you were there any surprises for you? Were you really disappointed? Did anything really stand out one way or the other? Let us know.
Did you fall asleep during the Oscars? I was close.
Corbin was close.
But I did it for you guys.
You're among friends. You can admit it
Yes.
here. We want to hear from you. You can go to our Facebook page. You can also check us out at our email, which is chatspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And also a reminder to ask you to recommend this podcast to your friends and family.
Give it a like or give it a follow so you can stay up to date with it on whatever app you want, or subscribe to the YouTube page, which is doing quite well.
Yeah, so let's go over the platforms one more time.
So we have Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and then we have a new YouTube page which requires no sign-in, no downloading of any apps.
Yeah.
Just go on to click the link and it will
Go to our
take you
channel.
there.
Yeah.
And you can give it a like,
Yep.
subscribe, give a comment as well. You can comment on the YouTube channel if you have a specific question or
Opinion.
comment or opinion on a certain podcast episode, you could do that there.
For sure. Yeah, we would love to hear back from you.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for listening. This is...
No.
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh.
You were going to do it again.
Oy vey, I forgot. It's time for the high note.
Okay, tell everybody what the high note is again.
All right, the high note is something within the last week that Mom or I have found that has helped us, given us a little happiness throughout a dark and dour week, or something that we just want to recommend to you guys that we think may help you guys through your week or longer. So this week, Mom has something here. She has a physical thing in her hand. This is the first time on the high note.
I do. I have a book. Because actually Valentine's Day is coming up, and we're not going to do a specific Valentine's Day episode because it's going to fall in the middle of our week.
We might do a recap about our Valentine's Days. But
oh, really?
I don't know.
Are you kind of foreshadowing that you want to talk about Valentine's Day next week?
No, because I have nothing going on.
Poor Corbin's girlfriend is not going to be around for Valentine's Day, so let's just have a moment of silence for Corbin and his girlfriend. Okay.
And let's have a moment of silence because I think Dad forgot about Valentine's Day.
It doesn't matter because this ties into what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I was speaking with a friend not too long ago who recommended a book called The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts. And this is written by Gary Chapman. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's an easy little paperback book. This one, how much it cost? $21.49. That's a random price. But anyway, the purpose of this book, and this is not to suggest that your father and I are having problems.
I was going to say,
you're a little concerned.
Is there something that I'm not picking up?
No. I thought it was an interesting read because to me, it's something that I had wondered about because I had kind of felt this in different conversations and different experiences with people, how we all have different love languages. So, for example, for some people, it's words of affirmation. So if they're told, if I say, I love you, Corbin, that's all some people need. They just need to be given words of affirmation, or I really appreciate what you do, or that type of thing. Another love language is acts of service. So things that you actually do for another person to demonstrate your appreciation of them, your affection for them, because that is the most important thing for them. Yeah. You could tell them you love them 16 times a day, but it's not going to mean as much as
actions
taking out the garbage.
To some people.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another one is receiving gifts. For some people, they need a physical, tangible demonstration of affection. Mm-hmm. And, again, you don't have to tell them you love them. You don't have to do extra things for them, but every now and then you bring home flowers and you give them that. Yes. Right? Another one is quality time. There are some people that it doesn't matter what you give them. It's not nearly as valuable as spending time with them. Mm. And then finally, physical touch. So that could be like an intimate romantic relationship, physical contact, or it could just be, taking that time to hold their hand in public and a PDA, right? So anyway, I read this book. It was a very simple read. It's a lot of practical, this is kind of how this
only 100 or so pages, it looks like. 200 pages. So a quick read.
It wasn't too bad. And I thought it was interesting. And even though I personally didn't identify specifically with one, it is possible to have multiple love languages. But it's interesting to sit there, and I can see this with other people, what means more to someone else. Like, I can think of a couple people right now where they don't care if I ever give them a gift again. They just want to spend time.
Exactly.
Right? So I thought this was an interesting little find. It's something that if you are kind of questioning, or if you're feeling a disconnect, or if you just want to reaffirm something that you already suspect, then the 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, could be a really great option for you. And it's timely with Valentine's Day.
Of course.
And it's interesting to see the difference connecting with someone in the way that they need to be communicated with. Yeah. The difference that can make.
Well, give them the name, and they also give them the author, so if they are looking for it and can't necessarily find it right off the bat.
Well, I'm sure you can get it, not that I'm here plugging Amazon, but I'm sure you can get it online. The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, and when it's 5, it's the number 5, not spelt out. And it's Gary Chapman who writes it. And like I say, I got it paperback, $21.49, easy read. I'm going to hand it off to a couple other people who might be interested as well. And there's if you find it that helpful, or you're that into it, there are other books that this author has written, And it's things like When Sorry Isn't Enough, One More Try. It's relationship stuff. Rising Above a Toxic Workplace, Desperate Marriages, Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married, and 52 Uncommon Dates. Oh, I think I might have to read that one. But no, so you know, it's all relationship
That'd be a whole
stuff.
episode.
That could be a whole episode right there. But anyway, just thought it would be something fun for our listeners if you're looking for some reading, or if you're just looking to reconnect or reaffirm what you've already suspected, could be a good option.
And very, very timely.
Yeah.
Very good.
So now
all
you
right.
can wrap up.
And we covered everything.
We covered it. Are we good?
We did the Oscars.
This is a long one. If you're still with us now, like, good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. So, yes, thank you guys for listening. This has been me, Corbin.
And Sarah.
And thank you guys for listening. And stay tuned for our latest chats.